Mute.
Hey,
Sorry,
Michelle.
difficulties. I don't know what happened.
Hello.
Hey, Gordon. Hey, Jude.
Sorry about that.
It happened with the last meeting. I was at too.
Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Massive, you just have this idea of throwing money at that problem. It's going to make it go away. Accountability.
AOC is suggesting that January 6th
Could everybody except the board please mute their microphones?
is getting into some very dangerous territory here. Where's the disinformations are when you need
Hey,
it?
Ed Munson, please mute your microphone.
Can you mute him, Michelle, from your
There
end?
we go. Thank you. Sorry, just bear with me a second. We had a little problems connecting tonight. Okay.
Hey, Martin.
Hi, Marcia. How are you?
Good. Hey, Tony Giamo said to say hello to you.
Tony Giamo. Oh, Tony from the vintage
Yeah.
store?
Yeah. Said he hasn't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I know. I don't get into town as much anymore.
All right, everybody. I'd like to call the Woodstock Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for July 14th, 2022 to order. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
Let's see if we have a quorum. Gordon Wemp,
Jude Salato.
Marcia's willing.
Martin Mills.
well, we have a quorum. So I would really like to submit the minutes of June 23rd, 2022, open for the purpose of discussion. I have a second.
Second,
Yes, just on one thing, just some spelling on the meeting minutes under discussion of the Gumpel case, and that was referring to council, but it's council, not council, on both applications there. It's a small thing, but it's the meaning is different.
I'll change it tomorrow before I put them in the folder.
Great. Does anybody else have anything on the minutes from June 23rd? If not, I'd like to submit them for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain. Actually, no, I don't. I watched the meeting.
Oh,
Aye.
yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, meetings are submitted. Do we have any changes in the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I have something.
Yes.
Can we discuss escrow?
Yeah, we can discuss that at the end of the meeting.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're probably not going to move forward with it tonight because some questions on it, but it is in the process. But yeah, we can
Okay.
discuss that. Okay, so with that, we have 3 public hearings. So let's get going. ZBA case 22-18, application of Michael Beach for property located at 6 Studio Lane, Woodstock, New York, 12498, a 4-acre parcel located in an R 1.5 zoning district for determining whether the determination made by the CEO that the parking within 15 feet of right of way at 6 Studio Lane is a pre-existing non-conforming use is correct. So it's just a little typo there. Michael, would you like to walk us through this?
Sure, I'll walk you through. It started with expansion of the pre-existing parking area. And it, as I further investigated the matter, under current zoning, it looks like all of the parking would have to be 15 feet off of Studio Lane. There are 3 properties on Studio Lane. Under the zoning, they would have to sit back 15 feet. Now, I was told by Mr. Hoffman that it was a pre-existing non-conforming situation and there was nothing he could do about it. I investigated the law, and under 260-94A, under non-conforming uses, it's quite clear that if the building sat vacant for any period of time, a year or more, they would lose that non-conforming status.
And that was vacant when, Mr. Beach?
It was vacant when I bought my property in 2004, and was vacant periodically over the last, 20 years or whatever here. Now, the other point of this is that also, in order to maintain this non-conforming status, the property needs to be continuously occupied and kept up to code. Now, I submitted to you a lot of documentation, but I guess the most relevant is 2 documents from the building department for the years 2020 and 2021, when this building was listed as uninhabitable. Now, that to me, in addition to all the other code violations, says that they've lost the ability to actually use the non-conforming status. And if you go down further in the law, it says reestablished if such use has been discontinued for any reason, whether through vacancy or cessation of use for a period of 12 months or longer, or has been changed to or replaced by a conforming use. The intent to resume a non-conforming use shall not be deemed as conferring the right to do so. So basically, they're trying to have it every which way. All I'm asking is a determination as to whether this is pre-existing non-conforming. Still, after all the code violations, as far as I know, the occupants are in the building now without, a legal permit to be so. So the whole thing is a kind of it really hinges on this pre-existing non-conforming determination.
Any questions from the board?
A lot of violations.
Who's trying to talk here? Is that you, Jude? You're
It's
freezing up.
Marcia.
Jude.
Not me, it's not me. It's
No, I
not-
think it's Marcia.
Let me move my phone.
I have a question. You started talking about parking in the beginning, but now you're questioning, so that was an expansion of a non-conforming use. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I questioned the expansion of the parking.
Okay.
And my response, and by the way, I had to write a very expensive, long letter to the building department to get a 1-sentence response. And that response was, it's pre-existing non-conforming. This was after I had been informed some time ago by Mr. Hoffman that they could not expand the parking without a change of use. They would have to go through the planning board, yada, yada, yada. And so when I called them, on that particular issue, they came in with gravel and they took down a tree and they expanded the whole thing. And that's when he said there was nothing he could do. It was non-conforming, pre-existing. And but as far as I can tell, under the law, they gave up that right to call it that a long time ago when the building sat vacant and with all the code violations, and now with inhabitants in a building that's basically been condemned by the town. So
Is it a short-term rental or full-time rental? Do you know?
these are there's 5 units of full-time rental.
Do we know if all of these fire code violations were addressed?
As far as I know, they were not. I foiled just last week for the latest updates. There were 8 code violations issued on May 24th, which I believe you have copies of. I foiled for the responses from the landlord and any communication with the building department. The response I got from the building department is there is nothing. So the owners of the building, Mr. Simon and his wife Rosalind, apparently did not respond to the 8 fire code violations at 6 Studio Lane.
Sort of.
Jude, anything?
No, I already asked my question. Thank you.
Okay. Martin?
No, nothing particular.
Okay. Is this been made open to the contiguous neighbors? All right, so Michelle, could you read those, please?
Yes, I sent them all the notice and nobody responded. Robert Simon, Rosalind Simon, P.O. Box 132 Mount Tremper. Brian Ackers, 26 Lower Birdcliff Road. Judy Flynn, 28 Lower Birdcliff Road. Claire Keith, 2277 Glasgow Turnpike. Gregory Aston and Sandra Vines, 91 Rock City Road. Ronaldo and Joyce Balsamo, 85 Rock City Road. Anne Margaret, Daniel and James Pethica, 21 Lower Birdcliff. Jocelyn Glay, 12 Studio Lane. Jane and Lobling I, 1 Bellows Lane. Kevin McKenzie and Martin Van Hamel, 10 Lower Birdcliff Road. And Catherine Carvati and Travis Collier, 2297 Glasgow Turnpike.
Thank
mean,
you, Michelle.
They've had violations going back to Paul Schultes.
Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak about this topic? No, okay. Anything else from the board? No? All right, well, thank you, Michael.
Okay.
We'll be doing our due diligence on this and working on it for another time. So with that, if you have any other correspondence that you wish to send us during that time, feel free to do so.
Okay.
You know how to do that, and
Yep.
we'll look at it all. So
Thank you very much. Thank
you're
you for your
welcome.
time.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
So with that, I would like to close the public hearing.
Second.
Excuse me. For case number
2218.
2218. Do I have a second?
That was me.
Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, and I would like to recess case number 22-18. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Moving on. We are now, let me pull up my sheet here.
And Gordon, the legal notice that you're gonna read right now, there's also a typo there. I forgot to send you guys the updated one. It says it's represented by Kevin Josh Payne. The Kevin is an extra name. I don't know where that came from. It's actually just Mr. Josh Payne.
I see. Oh.
He'll go by Kevin if it's necessary.
Now you have to change your name, Josh. Sorry.
Call me what you want. That's fine.
I don't know where that came from. So random.
Okay, so ZBA case 22-19, application of Jill and Ron Ehrlichman as represented by Josh Payne, 35 West Market Street, Suite 2A, Red Hook, New York, 12571, for property located at 56 Plockman Lane, Woodstock, New York, a 12.558 acre parcel located within an R3 zoning district for a variance from the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, Article 5, Supplementary Regulations, Section 260-32A, fences, walls, and gates, to allow the construction of fences higher than the allowed by law in the front, rear, and side yards. So, okay, Mr. Payne, you're opening this up?
Well, yeah, so I've been assisting Ron and Jill with facilitating the application and the meeting, but they're actually going to head up the presentation here, and I'm here to answer technical questions as.
Okay, then to the Ehrlichmans.
Appreciate it, Mr. Wemp. I'm Ron Ehrlichman. This is my
Hi,
wife, Jill Ehrlichman. I'm sorry that due to the pandemic and other reasons, we haven't met anyone on this call personally, but appreciate the opportunity to meet you virtually. Just a quick background. My wife and I were fortunate enough to purchase the property at 56 Plockman Lane after about a year of looking for homes in Woodstock, which if you had asked me 3 years ago that we would be transitioning to living permanently in Woodstock, having never visited it before, I've told you that you have the wrong people. And as life happens, we found ourselves in a home in a community that we've very much enjoyed and like to see us living in permanently, and hopefully that this property would be something that would stay in our family for generations. We did not take lightly the decision to come ask for a variance. We really preferred to not have to ask for any exceptions, but we do have a bit of a unique property and a unique situation, so we would be happy to talk to you about it. But I know you have the plans and the information that Josh was kind enough to send in. In short, while it's a single variance for height, we sort of see these as two asks that we're looking to receive. And the first is in connection with the deer fence. We've made a decision to put a deer fence on the property. There's already one there, but it is inoperable. It's an old style electrified fence that hasn't been maintained. And rather than reconstruct in accordance with the permitted code for an 8-foot electrified fence, we're looking to put in place an 8-foot wire fence. It's similar to the high tensile, but it's more of a mesh design so that it doesn't have to be electrified. We just weren't comfortable with having an electrified fence on the property. So that's sort of our first request, is to alter the type of deer fence that we would put up. At one location in the property where we adjoin, or where our property boundaries abut a neighboring property, partially from the roadway that we have that leads into the property off of Plockman Lane, and partially what is a northern boundary line or northwestern boundary line of our property. The property slopes down 8 feet very dramatically from the boundary line, and so placing it 20 feet back from the property line at that location isn't really feasible if it's a deer fence, in an effort to try to keep the deer out. So that's the other sort of request of what I consider to be the deer fence variance. The other aspect of our variance request is, rather than just the deer fence around the entire property in 2 locations along what is described as our front and rear and side, but it's really a portion of our driveway and a portion of the boundary lines that are the backyards of 2 neighbors. We were hoping to put a wood fence at 8 feet high in lieu of the deer fence, to provide some screening and privacy from in particular, one of the properties that was granted a variance to construct a studio within the 50-foot setback from our property line. I don't know if, Josh, if there's anything else you think I should add?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that structure that was granted a variance, you know, is, I think it's within 28 or 30 feet. I don't have the
32, at least at one place, it's 32 feet. So it's somewhere between 29 and 32 feet away.
I think
Right.
a setback variance is quite different from, you know, trying to have a variance against what the law states, which is no fence higher than 4 feet in a front yard. So I don't think bringing in the other studio and variance should really be part of this presentation. I mean, there's a specific code, and I actually drove up Plockman Lane. I didn't see any fences. I saw 2 4-foot fence. One was a picket fence and one was a split rail fence. And Plockman Lane is one of the oldest roads in Woodstock, and it maintains its beauty by having, you know, these kinds of codes in our community.
100%. I don't disagree with you at all. And I'm sorry if I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm a renewables, utility scale, solar and wind project developer attorney. So I deal with presentations on project development on a daily basis. And I remember early in my career, I would be surprised about CEOs of companies that, you know, were worth billions of dollars, and they would negotiate transactions with ice water in their vein. But when I would work with them on their personal matters, it was like dealing with a small child in terms of just, you know, being nervous. So I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear to you about the fact our property is set back significantly from Plockman. And I can be happy to show you pictures, but you won't see this fence in any way from Plockman Lane. We have, what I was saying is a unique property is what is being described as our front yard is the backyard of two properties that front Plockman Lane. And so the issue, we have no interest in putting a fence anywhere along Plockman Lane or anywhere where it would be visible to the community. We're very sensitive to the fact that our desire to have some degree of privacy to screen from this variance setback and to have the deer exclusion, which not everyone agrees with. We're very sensitive to the fact that doesn't mean that we should impose upon the community something that's not attractive to the community. And we really would not be asking if we thought that's what we're doing. I'm happy to bring up the diagram, show pictures, walk anyone that would like to through the specific situation here. And I would just say, I do not disagree with you. This is not a tit for tat. Well, you got a variance, then we should get one. But the variance was for a setback of a studio structure, not a residence. And that's not, this is a residential area. The studio is 1,000 square feet and was constructed within the 50-foot setback. And I assume that the reason that the setback exists, similar to the fence ordinance, is in order to ensure that property owners are given space between each other from their structures. And in particular, if it's not a residence, that I wouldn't expect to see a partially completed studio, which was granted a variance 4 years ago, that still hasn't been constructed and still is partially erected, and that is screened in by stacked cut down logs. So it is, again, I'm not poking at it. I'm just saying it's a fence in an area solely to screen a structure that was permitted to be built closer to us. And at that time, I think it was difficult. I believe Mr. Armstrong went out to the property to look at it. It was in May when the trees had bloomed. The area there is a very difficult area to grow trees. So it's mostly not evergreens and small trees. The property, the Moores, I know were good stewards and community members of the town. And we were, fortunate to have bought a property from them. But they, as time passed, and is often the case with property, as you are there for a number of years, they hadn't maintained the grounds. And so when we cleaned out all the dead trees it's a direct line of sight from what you're saying is our front yard into a partially completed structure.
Jude, did you have?
I did. So if they had constructed this structure 20 feet further, so they were within the setback, you still would see it, right?
We would see it, but not as much of it.
And so how close is that structure to your house? Because you have 12 acres, right? So
We do the primary property. It's really hard to, I mean, would it be okay if I put up a map of our property? Would that be helpful?
Sure, yeah, that might be helpful too. I'm looking at the map, but it's not immediately clear to me, so.
All right, you'll have to bear with me 1 second. I know that I need to share my screen. I do have everything up.
Do you have orange markers along your driveway on 56 Clockman?
We don't have
Not your
orange
driveway?
markers, but we recently had the property surveyed with a topographical
I mean,
survey.
orange tape, is that your property?
That's the driveway.
Yes, okay, so you have actually a wooded forest on Clockman Lane going up to your house, correct?
No, ma'am. We have a driveway that in one section has some small trees, bushes, and in the other section it's not wooded. I can show you pictures from what it looks like from our driveway up until the entrance, until it's a teardrop shape. It's a, I apologize. Let me just get the map up and then I'm happy to expand on that. Just give me a second.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, is everyone able to see?
There's nothing on the screen.
No.
Oh,
All right, well, give me just 1 second then. Apologies.
Do you have permission?
I may not. Hold on, just not technologically incapable, but so variance requested. Thank you, Deepa. I got it.
our 9-year-old wants to run tech support. We may need her.
All right, that's
Maybe
not.
I have the wrong house.
That's okay. It's
Here's the map.
all right. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yeah, we're seeing a picture of a gray building with this metal roof.
That's the structure that we're looking to screen from, and that's what it looks like when you step out into the area in front of our house. I've now put up the diagram. I don't know if that is showing up.
No, still just pictures.
Okay, I apologize. Bear with me.
And how far is this from your house?
I've not marked it off in feet. When you go out into our front house, it's a wide open space that leads to the driveway. There's no trees, there's nothing blocking. New share. That's the problem. I got it. I'm sorry. It's too much up is the problem.
Well, even an 8-foot fence is not going to block that roof.
No, ma'am, I know, but we didn't think it would be reasonable to ask for anything more than that. We figured it'd be the same as the deer fence. We're just asking to make it wood. We also designed it, which I'm happy to show you, in a way that tried to soften it by not making it solid wood. Half of it's wood slats and then slender slats that are spaced. It's in the package that we submitted. I can show you that. I'm now showing the diagram. Does that?
Yes, we
Okay.
can see it now.
So Clockman Lane is all the way, hold on, let me get this. Okay, so Clockman Lane is along here. There is a house right there. That's a house. That's the studio that was built. the neighbor's property is over here, but their house is more in this area. You have to drive up this driveway. I'm trying to give you distances, but let's call it 90, 80, 170, somewhere in the neighborhood, about 250 feet that you have to drive up before you get to this place. And that's would be where we're gonna put a gate. There's currently a cattle guard and poles that you could put a fence on. We're talking about moving it just slightly from its current location to here. And we're talking about the fence going here, here, and here, and then here. It's 20-foot setback off of this property, but there's no way to see either of any of it from the road, which is all the way up here.
So Mr. Ehrlichman, the dotted line is the 8-foot wood fence?
Yes, sir. The
That's
dotted line
correct.
right here is the portion of the fence you would see as you're approaching. Then there's a dotted line here. It goes down to this point that was somewhat arbitrary. It was in an effort to just balance out the fence on each side.
Mhm.
And then it would start at this location where I have the pointer as the deer fence. Similar situation over here. The only difference is that it's a 10-foot setback here. We're limited in where we could put it. And then here a 5-foot, because as you see from the topography, it immediately drops down about 8 feet to here.
And where is the studio?
The studio is this structure right here.
So when you come up Plockman Lane from 212, it's the house before you get to your driveway, correct?
When you come up Plockman Lane from 212, it's a house that you can see right here, and then a studio that's tucked in the back of the property, but looks into our front yard.
And where is your house located on
Give me
your
just 1
property?
second and I will show you. This is our house. This area here is now all open. And so from our bedroom, and I agree the fence is not going to screen that. It's more when we're out in this area, anywhere we're in our what is at least I'm being told is considered our front yard. I mean, I had assumed that our front yard was this area, but we were told by building that all of this behind these two properties is my front yard.
That's right, because it faces Plockman Lane.
Okay, so
It's anything in front of your house is considered your
okay,
front.
and I'm not arguing that. That was so we just that's as a result from our front yard of our house. We have and again, I will tell you exactly where I was when I took this photo. I am not trying to misrepresent what it looks like. That's from the street.
From Plockman Lane.
This is from our backyard.
Our front yard.
No, is this
Front yard, right?
Our front yard.
that's from our front yard. I apologize. This is the side. So as we're
That's from our
coming up,
driveway.
as we're coming up our driveway, before you get to the place we're talking about putting the fence, and so we wanted to put it right here, you have this view. As you enter into our property, you see this to your right. And then when you're standing near the entrance to our property, I was over on the driveway. This is what you see, with stacked logs about 6 to 7 feet high. And that's the front of the house, a view from Plockman Lane with the structure.
That's the studio.
The studio, that's the front of the studio from Plockman Lane. Now, again, I'm very sensitive to saying, well, you gave them a variance and they did this and we should be able to do this. The issue of visibility of this structure from the property was raised in the meeting minutes, at least from what I can tell, when the variance was granted. And our former owner expressed this exact concern. There were statements made by the property owners during the meeting about putting landscaping and doing things back here to screen the property, and none of that has been done.
Was this property here when you purchased the house? Was this studio built after?
It is there, and I understand, the thinking that we walked into this, so we assumed the risk. I will say, we did not have the visibility of the problem when we purchased it because, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, the Moores had just not taken care of the grounds, not the property. It's a beautiful home, beautiful property, but this area was filled in with tons of dead trees and fallen trees. And when we cleaned it out, only taking down what needed to be taken down from this area, this is the result. And this is during summer when the non-evergreens have bloomed.
You can talk to the building department if they did not fulfill the conditions of the variance.
I hear you. All I can tell you is I don't know how, we're new to this community, so I'm not sure whether it was a condition, because when I read the variance order, it does not make reference specifically. It simply talks about compliance with the grant. But in the meeting minutes, it seems to me that it was represented that this issue wouldn't be an issue. And again, I'm not suggesting that anyone has done anything maliciously or nefariously or anything wrong. I think that it's a confluence of several different factors.
Right. Oh,
there was-
we can take the screen down, I think.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No, I'm just asking.
Have you talked to your neighbors about screening, and have you had that conversation?
Yes, ma'am. We made a presentation to them. We went over and met with them. I took our landscape architect. We presented them with information regarding the fence, the locations, the height, and we offered and we solicited feedback from them in connection with the fence.
But I'm asking if you had spoken to them about their commitment to provide, to plant, I assume they were plantings, to plant screening. Had you?
I don't, we would be happy to put planting in that area. If
No, wait. No, I was just saying, you said that it was in the meeting minutes when they got their variance that they made some kind of commitment to put in plantings. And I just wondered if you had asked them and requested that they follow through with that.
So I'm not trying to hold or to base this.
Kind of a yes or no question. Did you?
I'm so sorry.
Just did you talk to them about the fact that they did not maybe keep up with the spirit, at least in this case, possibly the spirit of the variance granted? That's all Jude's asking you. Did you speak to them about that?
I did not.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be the lawyer that doesn't know how to answer yes or no. we investigated.
As long as you don't take the fifth. As long as you don't take the fifth.
I had to take the fifth.
No, you know what? We didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We found that information out after we had decided that we really felt like a fence fit us best. We have.
Well, I was just going to say, we asked our landscape architect to tell us whether we could do any planting in that area as an alternative to fencing. And it's a rock cliff. And he said, there's nothing you can get to grow there because it's entirely rock. There's no sun. And when it does get moisture, it tends to stay wet for a period of time. I don't want to have anyone leave with the impression that we did not explore other alternatives. We didn't ask our neighbor to do the planting or to do anything because we feel like, whether right or wrong, we're asking to screen the property. So it's incumbent upon us, in my opinion, to bear the expense of it. And sorry, go ahead.
No, you had said that there were trees there that had fallen or
trees that had not survived and fallen because of the area, and that when they grow to be big enough, it doesn't stay dense. But they were not, it was not healthy to leave what was there. It was,
but they, I mean, sometimes there can be very mature trees on a property and eventually they do die.
These were not, these were absolutely not that. We did not take down any mature trees that could be sustainable in that area.
No,
It was dead wood that you had cleared out of that area.
Yes.
No, I
Well,
understand. That's not what I'm saying, but okay.
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 Sorry. I'm sorry if I'm not clear. I'm not answering your question. I'm really not trying to be evasive about it or suggest. We're not here to say the only thing that can be done here is an 8-foot fence, and you let them have a variance for that property. Therefore, you need to give us an 8-foot. It is.
Yeah, I didn't take it that way. I understand what you're saying, but because it's there, you'd like to remediate some of the issues if possible.
In a way.
I mean, I think as a board member, I would like to come over and take a look a little bit because, you know, maps in 2D, everything looks good or bad on 2 dimensions. So
100%.
or even with pictures, they don't always tell the story. So.
Can I ask a quick question about the deer fencing before?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Martin.
What in general, what is the reasoning for so much deer fencing?
So we're only fencing 46% of the property, and I know the code would allow us to do 70%. We're putting the fence essentially back in the same location, including its proximity to the property line along that property, as to where it had previously been, and for 20 plus years. The reason I'm pausing is I know that the question of a deer fence is it can be a charged issue. I personally, you know, my wife and I had a long discussion about it. In short, we came to the conclusion that whether it's psychological or it actually provides a benefit from ticks and Lyme disease. We have 3 small children, 13, 9, and 11. I don't know why I did that out of order. I didn't forget the middle one. But, you know, that's our reason. It may not be a good reason to other people. To be frank, you know, we feel like we need to enclose this property. I just really have a desire to not have to electrify a fence on our property.
I believe you're going to have ticks whether the deers come into.
I know that's why I said I don't want to come across like city people that moved out to the country that don't know, you know, and I get it. I really do. It's you know, it's just it's the preference that our family came up with for this. And I know, well, if I'm going to do something that the board doesn't or people don't think is appropriate, then I shouldn't be asking for any exceptions. As far as the deer fence component, I would think that it would be beneficial to us, the deer, the community, the environment, to not have an electrified fence.
But you're also diverting the deer into your neighbor's yard as well.
Half of our property is, in all fairness though, but I will, please take this with all respect. I mean, we can erect 70% of our property with an electrified fence and make it more problematic for the neighbors. We've chosen to be create as minimal an impact on everyone as possible. We've gone 46%.
Martin, I'm sorry, Martin, you had a question.
I just want to know is if the current electrified fence is operable.
It is not operable. So we'll replace it if we had to. It's just I grew up in Texas. I have friends on ranches. I understand that it's safe, but with our children, you know, it's not something that we were eager to do.
No, I understand. I have kids the same age. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, look, we honestly thought that the ask on the deer fence here would be the easy one. The areas of the deer fence that we're talking about outside of the area that we've all been discussing are so far in the woods and so far removed from the other properties that no one's going to see it, and no neighbor has expressed it. You know, I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine an issue with that.
Gordon, is there any height restrictions on a fence like that?
I don't know offhand.
I'm so sorry. Is there any height restrictions on a deer fence?
No, hold on, Mr. Ehrlichman. She was asking me the question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Jude?
I think across the board, 6 feet is the limit.
Yeah, I think whether it's a deer fence or any fence.
Well, an electrified
that's
fence,
correct.
electrified fences are allowed to go up to 8 feet in the code here.
In
But
Woodstock?
that's a single wire though, right?
It says high tensile wire, electric fence permitted in all districts except floodway, up to 8 feet in height, and permitted in the required front yard, provided that you provide a 20-foot setback and not cover more than 70% of the property. And then it goes on to say that high tensile smooth steel wire, utilizing the current supplied by high voltage, yada, yada, yada. So it doesn't specify a number of wires, but it would be assumed, I would think, that you would need more than one wire to be effective, you know, for it to be effective at its job. I mean, that's my interpretation, but it doesn't specify.
It doesn't, yeah, I mean, it says, other than saying it's high tensile, 12.5 gauge, smooth finish, and provides certain specifications with respect to the electrification. It provides no details with respect to the number of wires, the spacing, whether they're horizontal, vertical, and it does specifically.
Right, well, it certainly wouldn't be as many wires as we're seeing in the cyclone fence. So.
I understand, and
Right.
Yeah.
But usually the front yard fence requirement is 4 feet. So which
If it's a
supersedes the
fence,
other?
not an this is an exception to that. If you have a.
Typically what would be done was probably a 4-foot fence or something along those lines, and then a wire or
Wire,
two
yeah.
above it. Yeah, 1 or 2 electrified wires
Right.
above it.
Can you expand on that? Because is that not a fence? If you have a 4-foot fence and you put wires above it, is it a 4-foot fence, or is it an 8-foot fence if it goes up to 8 feet?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's an interpretation that I'm not willing to make right here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
It's okay.
That was a.
You did, and that's the way I answered it. I take no offense.
You know, I was just gonna say, it was like saying, I mean, no disrespect. It certainly didn't.
I'm just a volunteer here. What do
I
do?
understand. We
do our work. I haven't researched this whole thing, and I think we're gonna need some. I don't really want to spend all night going on the nuances of this. We do have another case and some other things to vote on, and I appreciate your time and I appreciate everybody's time here. But I think we have enough information. I think I'd like to do a site visit, perhaps Jude would. I think Marcia's already done a cursory visit. Martin, we might all want to take a walk over and take a look. So we'll coordinate that with you. We'll have your number any way you'd like. So we'll try and work that out with you if we could, because I think we're definitely going to need a little hands-on here. And then we're going to do our own work in the background. So if that's good.
That is more than good. We
Okay.
appreciate that you're willing.
Because we still want to open this up to the public, but I'm not sure if we have anybody here. So Michelle, would you like to read the contiguous neighbors, please?
Marshall Wagner, 60 Puckman Lane. Roy Villani, Vidula Pant, 10 West 15th Street Avenue, Penthouse L, New York, New York. Jonathan Simon Miller, 208 West 30th Street, 1001. Andrea Kafuri William Schultz, 301 Forest Avenue, Fairfax, California. Joel Aragona, 328 West 89th Street, New York, New York. Beekman Publishers, 2626 Route 212.
I'd like to speak on behalf of Beekman Publishers. I don't know what the problem.
Go ahead, Mr. Ober.
Okay, thank you very much. I had, first of all, I just want to thank the ZBA for addressing this, and also to Michelle for assisting me, and also welcome the Ehrlichmans as neighbors. I do take exception that that Mr. Ehrlichman said he spoke to all the neighbors. I was not approached.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
sorry,
If I-
that's not what we meant.
But in any case,
No.
I feel, as I wrote a letter, and I would ask the letter be presented to the board, please, that I will just start by saying that my feeling, having moved here 42 years ago, was to change many things about my property. And having lived here, I was very happy I didn't make those changes. So I'll say that as a preamble. My concerns are several. One is the height of the fence. Well, one is the issue of the fence, because as someone had mentioned, that by diverting the deer, it then goes onto my property and I have the issue or other neighbors have the issue. My other concern is the height of the fence, which my understanding, and I believe Michelle had indicated this, that this was for 6 feet, not 8 feet. So that, I mean, if 6 feet is the law, then 6 feet is the law. But my understanding was that 6 feet was the law and that they were not asking for a variance for that. My other concern, contrary to what Mr. Ehrlichman said, was that he said 2 things. One, it's not visible to the community. Well, I'm certainly visible. I'm part of the community, and an 8-foot fence would be visible to me. And also that the property, well, may not be near my home, is a property that I go on and I see and I look at, and that's part of the feeling of being in the Woodstock area. I would ask, as a number of people suggested, exploring natural screening, because the wood that seems to be stacked there is from old growth, and certainly a lot of natural screening could be done. And then the final issue is that, and I don't know if this is the place to address this, that there is a very bright light that literally shines in our bedroom. And as a result of that, and I understand from the building department about night dark sky lighting, which it's one light, but it's just amazing, and it's a considerable distance. So if that is the Ehrlichman's property, I ask that they that be corrected, no matter whether the variance is addressed or not, or accepted by the ZBA. So in essence, those are my 4 concerns of: 1, the setback; 2, the height to be remaining at 6 feet; 3, to have natural screening; and 4, if appropriate, to address the dark sky issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ober.
And I also want to welcome the Ehrlichmans to the neighborhood.
We want
Nice
to
meet you.
apologize
Thank you so much.
for not introducing ourselves. We've been struggling with how to do that, and I'm sorry that we don't know which property you are. We had just reached out to the folks that we knew had visibility to our property. If we have a light that is causing you problems, which I would hope not, we're happy to try to address it.
Absolutely.
I would suggest looking at the code about the dark sky code, bright lights.
Mhm.
We don't have any,
I don't know
we
what the
have
light is.
40-watt LED lights that are like marine looking lights that are on the outside of some portions of the house. Mr. Ober, is your property, I believe, to the west of us?
I believe so, yes.
All right,
I'll
listen,
take a
I
look.
appreciate, listen, I
Yeah,
appreciate.
sorry, I'm so sorry. I did not
but
take
it's not something that
I'll
we
reach
can
out to you
really,
separately, Mr. Ober.
yes, but maybe you two can get each other's contact
Absolutely.
information.
Now, the reason I bring this up, Mr. Chair, is because I understand before any variance is granted, that other issues should be.
Sure, if there's a violation, I've made notation of it,
I
but
appreciate it.
I just don't want to get.
No, I don't want to dwell on it. Thank
No,
you.
no, we have made notation of it.
To the extent that I can authorize anyone on the ZBA to provide my phone number to Mr. Ober, or you otherwise want to just look me up, if you just Google me, you'll find me at Sidley.
Okay, so you can contact through Michelle if need
Yep.
be. I'm sure she can assist both of you. Okay?
Thank you. Sorry to.
So
take
let's
up time.
continue on with the public, with the list. Michelle, do you have more names on the?
Yes, Pattison Family Trust, 44 Plaquemine Lane, Arnold Wendroff, 126 West 39th Street, Bayonne, New Jersey, Kumi Yamashita, Eric Maas, 54 Plaquemine Lane, and I don't believe they're on, but they did send a letter opposing the fence. Gary Heckelman, Naomi Furliger, 58 Plaquemine Lane, and Claudia and Robert Gahagan, 55 Plaquemine Lane.
Okay, is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak to this issue this variance? I'll take that as a no. So, Mr. Ehrlichman, board members will be in touch with you to try and coordinate, maybe visit, maybe we can get a couple of us there at once and go through this. We can't have 3 of us there at once because it'll constitute a quorum, but maybe,
That's funny. I didn't think about that.
but,
I'm gonna
Thank
use,
you so
I'm gonna use
much.
that line sometime. Thank you.
there you go. You're welcome to it.
Thank
Public
you so
domain.
much, and thank you for your time, everyone.
So, and as I've mentioned before, any documentation that you wish to submit further is allowable, but once we close the public hearing, that'll be the case moving forward. So with that, do you have any questions before I close the public hearing, Cheryl?
No, as Jill said, thank you again for all your time. We
Okay.
do appreciate it.
For now, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. So with that, I would like to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with that, I would also like to recess case number.
1919.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you. Okay. Moving forward. ZBA case number 22-20, application of Dario Vergara as represented by Peter Jacobson, 257 Tinker Street, Woodstock, New York, 12498, for a property located at 92 John Joy Road, Woodstock, New York, 12498, a 0.62 acre parcel located within an R3 zoning district for a variance from the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, Article 4, Area and Bulk Regulations, modification of required yard, Section 26026B2C, for a 25-foot infringement into a minimum required 50-foot rear yard setback in order to construct, install a 16-foot by 36-foot in-ground swimming pool. Okay, who's taking us out here? Who's going to talk about this case?
I can talk about it. This is Peter Jacobson of Mountain Pools. How are you doing, Mr. Chair?
Good, Peter. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. So yeah, I think the case is pretty straightforward. I don't know if you all have access to the drawing that was submitted, but basically the situation is that the code requires a 50-foot setback from the property line in the backyard to any structure, including a pool. The problem is that the backyard itself is only 56 feet. So the code makes it impossible to put a pool of any sort that's more than 6 feet wide or so in the backyard. So we're looking for a variance to allow a 25-foot setback. It's also not possible to put pool in the side yard. One side yard has a septic tank, and the other side yard isn't big enough. So this is really the only way we can put a pool on the property is to get a variance. The other thing I want to point out is that this variance would be consistent with the character and nature of the neighborhood. 2 adjoining properties also have pools. Dario, the property owner, said that the adjoining neighbors had expressed support. I don't know if they actually had sent in a letter, but we at least have that kind of verbal approval anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the map. Yeah, I can see, and the only other thing is the front yard, of course, which is not allowed. Okay, are there any questions from the board?
There has to be a fence around the pool, correct?
Yeah, it's written on the final page there. It says existing fence to be upgraded to comply with pool fence building code.
Yes, so there's an existing fence. It's just not, as that note said, compliant with pool fence building code. So we would upgrade the existing fence to be compliant. So there's an existing fence on the property whose line we would keep.
Is the existing fence in the setback then?
The existing fence is right on the edge of the property line. It does not respect the 50-foot or 20-foot setback.
Right, I see the sketch of that. What's a picket fence?
I believe so. I have pictures. Dario, do you remember what kind of fence, or Dario, could you mention what kind of fence it is while I'm searching for an actual picture?
I don't know the details. I know it's a wood fence,
Mm-hmm.
but it's Yeah, it was already there when we bought
I
the property.
see. On, I guess one part of it's picket and one part's post and bale fence with wire. I see. Well, we'll take a look at it. So I think somebody would be in contact with you, as I said before, the other applicant that, we'd probably want to do a site visit. I don't believe anybody from the board has done one yet. Am I correct? I don't think right. So we'll assign this and we'll be in touch with you, I guess, so we can just maybe, walk the property and it doesn't look like it's going to be. I also see that you have a septic tank on the one side yard. So yeah, you're limited for sure. Okay, are there any other questions from the board? Okay, well, this one might make up for the time of the other one. I'm certainly not going to push it. Michelle, would you like to read a list of the contiguous neighbors, please?
Daniela Barillion, 78 John Joy Road, and she did send in a letter in full support for Mr. Vergara to have his pool. 8 Development Catskill Center for Conservation, PO Box 504, Arkville, New York, and Tara Delicio, 73 Ledgesite Road, Saugerties, New York.
Okay, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this application? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So with that, Mr. Vergara, Mr. Vergara, I say somebody would be in touch with you, probably, I assume next week sometime. We'll sign that this evening. Does anybody want to take that right now that we can lead point on this? Like I said, I guess that's me.
Or Michael or Joseph, I mean, they haven't had a case.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
All right, not a problem. So I'll get a hold of you, hopefully sometime next week, or, before next week, maybe a Sunday, Monday, give you a call and set a time to stopping by, or, we'll arrange it however you like.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So with that, as I stated, if there's any other information you wish to send us, send to Michelle, and we'd be happy to review it, whether it's letters of support or whatever, anything. You can have anybody send anything, but as of in a few minutes, we'll be closing the public hearing, in a few seconds, actually, as soon as I stop talking. So with that, I would like to close the public hearing for case number 22-20. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, and with that, I would like to recess case number 22-20. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, Mr. Vergara, I will be in touch with you, and hopefully we can, shouldn't be any problems to render a decision on this. We try to do it within, well, we have 62 days. If we can do it in the 2-week period to our next meeting, we certainly try to do that. So,
Excellent.
all right.
Thanks again. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. That's not it. Here we go. I'd like to present a resolution in regards to ZBA case number 22-04. Based upon the standards for consideration of area variances set forth in section 260-103B of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, and area variance of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, Article 5, supplementary regulations 260-31C, 2A, sign regulations, in order to add a 23-inch by 78-inch two-sided sign to an already existing sign where only 8 square feet per side is allowed on a freestanding double-sided sign is hereby denied without prejudice, subject to all, that wasn't put in here, Michelle.
Yep, I'll fix it. I just wrote it in.
Okay, without prejudice, subject to all the requirements of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, New York State real property law, and all the applicable laws, codes, and regulations. I'd like to just put it aside. I put that without prejudice so they can further apply again for this, depending on where these, and did you put my conditions in here?
I did.
Oh, yeah, okay, the additional comments, the town, I put this in, the Woodstock Town sign law is currently under review. We feel that it would not be prudent to approve a variance even with conditions until said law is ratified. With that,
Gordon, before you continue, do you have to open it in order to vote? Because you didn't.
I guess so. Okay, I'd like to open case ZBA 2204.
Thank you.
Okay, and with the resolution that I just read to apply to that case, I would like to vote on said resolution. I vote Gordon Webb, aye. Michael Stiglione absent. Jude Salato. Jude? You're not coming
You
through.
said aye.
Oh, I couldn't
I
hear
can't
you.
hear you though.
There you go.
There you go.
Joseph Bellick absent. Marcia's willing.
Aye.
Okay, we have a quorum on the vote, so the vote denied us as stated. Okay. Okay. I would like to open up ZBA case number 22-11. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Can we mute this phone number with the 415 area code?
Let
I'm
me
getting
get
a
it.
lot of feedback from them.
Just did.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to, based upon the standards for resolution, based upon the standards for consideration of area variances set forth in section 260-103B of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, an area variance from the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, Article 4, area and bulk regulations, section 260-16, attachment 2, HRFG, for a 14.6 foot infringement into a 25-foot side yard setback, and section 260-94 non-conforming uses, section 260-94A 4B3, in order to construct an additional 146 square foot, 3-season porch. Said variance is hereby granted with conditions subject to all requirements of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, New York State real property law, and all other applicable laws, codes, and regulations. The conditions: to be built as per attached plans drawn by Severin W. Winter, Joe Michaels, PE, drawing number A-5.0, specifically to avert direct drainage toward the lower property, allowing maximum dispersion through a gravel drainage trench. I did not attach that to that. I'm not sure if you have a copy of it, Michelle, but I will send it to you or bring it to the office when I sign up.
Okay.
And that was the, I did send that previously to the board members, showing the roof, following the same roof line of the existing house, going back into an existing gravel drainage trench, so that would give maximum. And that's
Okay.
why I did not put on for gutters, because this would actually be better than channeling everything into one gutter thing to the edge of the property. This would actually give it a chance to disperse better. So with that, the resolution is as follows. Gordon Webb, aye. Michael Castiglione, absent. Judith Salato.
Aye.
Joseph Bellick, absent. Marcia's willing.
Aye.
And Martin, we don't need your vote tonight, but we always appreciate you being here. Great. So with that, the resolution is adopted. A vote of 3 in favor, none opposed, 2 absent, and none abstaining. So with that, I would like to close ZBA number 22-11. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. ZBA case number 22-15. I'd like to open that. Do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with the resolution, based upon the standards for consideration of area variances from the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, Article 4, area bulk regulation, section 260-16, attachment 2G, for a 25-foot infringement into a required 75-foot setback in order to legalize the construction of a barn, is hereby granted, subject to all requirements of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, New York State real property law, and all other applicable laws, codes, and regulations. The vote is as follows. Gordon Webb, aye. Mike Castiglione, absent. Judith Salado,
Aye.
Joseph Bellak, absent. Marcia Zwilling.
Aye.
And Martin, once again, thank you for being here because we almost needed you. So the resolution is adopted, 3 in favor, none opposed, 2 absent, and none abstaining. Okay, so with that, I would like to close ZBA case number 22-15. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on. I guess that's, oh, we have, no, ZBA case number 22-17. I would like to open that. Do I have a second? I didn't hear anything, but I could feel a hand going.
3 seconds, sorry.
All in favor?
I heard you.
I'm just having a little.
Aye.
Yeah, oh, really, thank you. I have this pad of paper. I think it's muffled.
Okay, a resolution based upon the standards for consideration of area variances and conditional upon compliance with the stated representations area variances from the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, Article 4, areas and bulk regulations 260-16, attachment 2E as modified by section 260A for a 25-foot infringement into a required 45-foot front yard setback to allow the construction of a 240 square foot addition to an existing residence with a 275 square foot exterior deck is hereby granted, subject to all the requirements of the zoning law of the town of Woodstock, New York State real property law, and all other applicable laws, codes, and regulations. The vote is as follows. Gordon Webb, aye. Michael Castiglione, absent. Judith Salado,
Aye.
Joseph Bellak, absent. Marcia Zwilling,
Aye.
and Martin. Stay good looking.
Got it.
So with that, the resolution is adopted by a vote of 3 in favor, none opposed, none absent, and 2 absent, and none abstaining. So with that, I would like to close ZBA case number 22-17. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I guess the only other thing we did, I know Jude wanted to discuss.
We can talk about it when you have more information.
Okay,
That's fine. The one thing I wanted to mention is when I first came on the board, Jim Armstrong said to me, I second things. And I said, okay. And I think that was just to make it easier for Michelle. So I'll be the seconder when I'm here. Okay.
okay.
Hey, I like the second too.
Yeah.
I sent you back and forth between everybody. It's all good.
Okay.
She's pulling the seniority
can
card on.
alternate,
She's
Jude.
pulling the seniority card on. Okay,
There's a chat message from
I
Emily
know, I'm
saying,
answering her. Emily, it's not gonna be, it's not up for discussion tonight.
Oh, okay.
no, the public hearing, unless we would need to discuss something internally, but public hearing was closed.
I know, but we submitted more information, so I thought you might discuss it tonight.
It wasn't on the agenda. I think we're discussing internally. We don't discuss everything in
Okay, that's
public.
fine.
Yeah, but
Okay, should I come back at the next meeting? Do you expect?
I
not
can't,
going to be discussed.
I can't say. I don't know. Yeah, sorry,
Not to digest.
yeah, I'm sorry if you
Okay.
were led to think that, because Michelle puts everything on our list that's open. But we don't always discuss everything. Sometimes if there's, issues that we need to, but we're still working on some things internally on that one before we move forward. So it's not an easy one. So we're I know it's going to happen really quickly. So
I understand.
yeah, you can always email us if you think there's anything. I don't want you to spend. You feel free to shoot me an email before meeting too.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, I know something else we need to discuss.
Oh, yes.
Now you know, right? Your homework. Did any of you do your homework?
We need to send something to them. And
Yes.
And I would like us to send a statement, you know. But I think it's got to, did we miss the date? Was it yesterday?
Is today.
Was it the, oh, no,
Well,
no.
I mean, it's not like anything's happening. It's not like there's gonna be a lot.
They've put these artificial deadlines up.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but maybe we should try and get something together this week. If you had something, if you want to shoot it to me, to get the ball rolling?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be
I'll do
great.
that. I'll do that.
Does it have to be specific,
No.
or can we just send a general?
Anything we like.
Okay, I did send as a citizen, a general, email to the town board.
Okay, yeah.
I did speak about it at the zoning revision committee.
Well,
And
if you could
several
CC me
of
on
us
that,
did.
maybe we can just put something together that we can all feel comfortable
Sure.
putting forward. Just send me everything you got and I'll start working on something myself.
All right. Well, you know, you might want to. I don't really understand the formality around it all, but you might want to, because they put up another deadline, which I think is tomorrow.
I'm supposed to have coffee with Deb and with Michael to try to get some more insight. And also express my concerns, not as a board member, but as a homeowner. So I can, after that, send you an email about what was.
There was a deadline. And then everybody said, we can't do it by then. And so I think they gave us until the 15th of July.
Yeah,
Some
which is
kind of-
tomorrow, yeah.
So I'm wondering if we should just send a general response so that we, and you know, and offer to send something further when we have more time. I don't know. I just feel like,
Well, if you could, you said you worked something up?
no, I just spoke. And I can tell you what I said is I said that there are very drastic changes in density, increasing.
Maybe we should send emails to Gordon about like what I emailed the board and what you spoke about, and give him, you know, some text on our concerns.
Yeah, they're probably, I think all of our concerns are probably
Pretty similar.
aligned
Yeah.
somewhat.
No,
So-
and I spoke as a homeowner, as someone who could potentially benefit for this because I'm on a large parcel, but yet, you know, my
Well, you know, it
concern.
might not be a bad thing for us to try and think as ZBA members and the kind of things we're running into.
Yeah.
So
And-
I asked a question because I looked at the schedule of use table. And, you know, it took a long time for somebody to actually give me an answer because it's not clear. So this is my understanding of what they're proposing. In every district, so say you're in an R3 district, you're in 3-acre zoning and you have 3 acres, you are allowed your primary house, a 1,500 square foot accessory apartment, detached, and a 1,500 square foot accessory apartment attached. So you're allowed 2 accessory apartments. So you're basically allowed 3 dwelling units where formerly you were allowed 1. And
Yeah.
an accessory apartment.
Uh-huh.
So that was big. And then, you know,
Now,
there's,
can you still put a 1,000-foot studio and a 1,000-foot guest house
there's
and
nothing,
a 1,000-foot garage?
I don't believe they changed any of that.
Right.
So then the other thing was, you know, now you can have not only a 2-family home, say on that 3-acre parcel, you can now have a 4-family home on that 3-acre parcel.
Right. My biggest question is how, if this is all to alleviate the housing crisis, how are they regulating this? Or are they just adding
They
more
can't.
opportunity
You
to
can't.
increase density and increase developers to come in and rent out as many
Right.
units as they possibly
Exactly.
can? It's
And I
just,
think what we've seen in this, and I certainly hear, yeah, I'm just wondering if everybody I hear in town who has an Airbnb, if they're registered. And, you know, by allowing more buildings and more stuff to go up, it certainly, you know, a lot of stuff falls through the cracks that we're seeing, you know, that,
Well, you know, there's this whole rental crisis across the country where corporations are purchasing
Right.
and renting them out for, you know, really high rents. And that was something else that we discussed, Martin, which was there's no guarantee that any of this will be affordable.
Yeah, so there's
Right,
there's two ways of looking at this too. Okay, as a landowner, wasn't some of the zoning done to keep the value of our homes somewhat up? That if you flood the town with housing, does that decrease the value of our own properties? Because I have a 2-acre lot over there, so I could put, you know, a 15 now instead of an 800-foot accessory apartment above a garage. I could put a 1,500 square foot, which is a sizable building.
It's a house.
Yes.
Over
I mean-
there, basically with the apartment on top of a garage, it would be quite, or I could put the garage next to it, it'd be basically a 2,000 square foot building, which is not much, is almost the size of the house I already have here.
I mean, is this gonna lower our property taxes because they're increasing density? I mean, is that part of the plan too? Because
Yeah, but if they're rentals won't decrease your property tax because it's only based on the value of your property. It's not based on
But
income.
there's an underlying major problem with all this. The whole purpose of this committee is to provide affordable housing. With building costs the way they are, even if you build these structures, you know, you're going to have high rents in order to pay for your
Well, we
investment.
went through this with Rupco and people were opposing the project that's behind Bradley Meadows. Because they said, why don't we do this, what we're talking about now? And I said, because you can't make it affordable. You can't build a house with its own septic and its own, you know, the only way you could do it is in clustering, you know, so that was done. And that was also kept, I forget how long, but it's kept affordable for 25 or 50 years. I forget the Rupco project, but you can't do that with what we're doing here.
well,
And
they're assuming that everybody's just gonna act like Rupco when, you know, that's not the case.
no, I've never seen anybody successfully roll back gentrification in any area.
Well,
Yeah.
not by private money and private real estate. That's not for sure.
I think the only way that you're gonna see affordable is clustered housing that's done basically for the workforce. You know, so people start wanting to get their dishwashers and that to live closer by, they might put up a few like multiple, and we can do up to an 8, they're saying now, is that what?
That becomes problematic too, when you're building strictly.
Yeah, it seems like a drastic
The housing
change.
insecure in this town isn't necessarily just the workforce, but. you
So
know,
if, as ZBA members, what are the problems we're seeing? I mean, obviously, as just, you know, citizens, we all have concerns here, that, you
I
know,
think the density, increasing the density in all these properties, in these residential properties is gonna cause.
right, yeah, because they're gonna want to put these buildings up.
Right, so are they increasing to setbacks or are they gonna all have to have variances? And then how would that affect the ZBA's docket nonetheless?
Yeah, a lot, it will affect it, yeah. That's what we're seeing now with the studio and then this neighbor coming in and fencing and then the, you know.
Speaking of that, Gordon, I was unaware that you could have an 8-foot electric fence in a front yard. Is there any way we can look at
all
that or
zoning
ask Rod about the meaning of that code?
Yeah, I mean, in the hamlet, you can have an electric fence in your front yard, like on my
That's-
neighborhood, that would be insane.
I don't know, I have to read it just because this guy read it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be
Right.
looking at it.
And by the way, I went out there, I'm gonna email you photographs because you will be able to see that fence from the road. And, you know, there is a forest in front of his house. I have photos of it. And when you do the site visit, you'll see. So, unless I was at the wrong house, but I don't think I was. You know, I'll send you some photos I took. But it's just,
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I would-
Jude, you want to go out with Marcia and look at that or?
yeah, let's do it.
We'll go look.
Okay,
Listen, after this week, my life will open up a little bit.
Right.
okay, yeah, so next week, yeah, I mean, it's no hurry.
We
on it.
can call them and then we can, because I didn't go up the driveway. I just was standing, you know, looking where the neighbor's house was. And,
Marcia, if I can, don't take this the wrong way, but try and play your cards a little closer to the vest, it would help out probably.
yes, okay.
Okay,
It was a hard one for me.
yeah, I mean, just don't, you know, we don't want to
prejudice.
Yeah,
Look at us, it's almost 8:30.
okay.
Ay, ay, ay.
All right, so with that, we'll,
So we're gonna, you'll draft something about the drastic increases in density through all of these proposals and
yeah.
no assurance that anything will be affordable. All it will do, I don't know, something along those
Well,
lines.
we can bring in some concerns we've all had as just private residents that we see is gonna be a tone throughout. I mean, that's my first thing. It's like, what?
Right.
You know, it's sort of like whether or not you're in favor of the zoning of this town, it's certainly been here for quite some time now. And we're seeing a lot of people pushing the limits of it with the amount of money that's coming. We're seeing things, and that's maybe something to put in. We're seeing things that we've never seen before because of the money that's coming in. People buying these tiny little houses and wanting to turn it into mansions with studios and guest houses and extra bathrooms. That just used to not be a problem.
Right.
Right.
The other thing is that there was someone who spoke and said, well, I could put another house on my property. I would love for my friends to be able to rent it from me. So I don't think, and then we saw the other one where somebody wanted a variance for an accessory apartment. It was for their daughter. I don't see that people are going to all of a sudden, out of the goodness of
Right.
heaven, build these houses, additional houses, and then rent them for a reasonable amount.
Town would have
so
to
I don't
create,
see how
they
that.
would have to create a program, like you have to apply, you have
Exactly.
to be approved, and I don't think currently the town is set up to make.
Yeah, or we don't have the enforcement either to stop every one of these accessory dwellings from being Airbnbs.
Right. So the argument that I was told was, it's simple economics. If there's more supply, then the demand will go down and the prices will come down. And I just said, this is Woodstock. I mean, look around at other communities.
Yeah, did that work in the Hamptons? You know, it's
Well, yeah,
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's sometimes. Go ahead, Martin. I'm sorry.
I mean, Marshall, you know as well as anybody that inventory is good. Part of the reason why Woodstock has such high property values is it has such low inventory. So we're just going to increase the inventory, and then what happens to the existing property values?
yeah. And to what, I'm looking at this, what's the end game here?
Right.
The
I mean,
end game is supposed to be to provide housing for locals.
I mean, like,
That's the-
so my kids will be able to afford a house here? It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
Unless they start hitting some corporate money, it's just not gonna happen.
And Jude's kids, it's everybody's kids growing up.
Right.
You can't
Yeah.
tell you
It
how
used to be
many
when we
times
were
I
all
hear
kids, you could afford a house in Woodstock by just having a job, any job.
Yeah.
You could basically, or rent, you could rent, but it's just not the case anymore. You need two substantial incomes
Right.
to afford a house here. Two
And a lot of luck.
two six-figure incomes in that range.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I just don't see what's the purpose of this.
I just hope that
It's just to change the zoning so we have more housing. Do we want more housing in here?
Yeah.
Well, I also feel like it's every district, every single district. You know what I mean? It's like I think there may have been a time and a place where something like this might have worked, but I think times have changed. In terms of Airbnbs, in terms of Woodstock, I don't think Woodstock fits into that category. Whereas if you have a lot more inventory, the prices are going to go down. I don't see that happening.
No.
But I think somewhere that may be true, and maybe prior to Airbnbs, maybe, and also prior to the kind of investors we're seeing. I went through I just took the assessment rolls, and I think there were about 1,100 properties or something like that. And then I just searched for LLCs to see how many came up. And it was 22% of the properties in Woodstock are owned by LLCs.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you something right off the bat, that people know their investments. So anyway. Okay.
When you have shows like 60 Minutes doing entire pieces about not only investors in this country, one of the biggest investors buying as many single-family homes as they can in the Sun Belt and the Southwest is a company out of Toronto and it's a multi-billion-dollar company. They come in, they buy the houses sight unseen, they do a quick renovation, and then they rent them for exorbitant prices. And if we do that here, it's going to be the same thing here. Investors come in, pay cash, build as much as they can, rent them out as much as they can.
Right.
And I'd like to get a copy of that link to that episode to send to everybody because it had really valuable information in it.
Yeah. And Amazon has recently started a program where you can, it's like an investment trust. You can, for $100, you can buy in to some of these purchases. So not only now is it going to be big corporations, it's going to be an opportunity for you to invest. I just, but what confuses me about it is I don't understand why they don't see this. And then I'm going to say something else here that really bothers me is this committee has operated in total darkness and secret. Their meetings are not open. So we don't know whose ideas these were, who's voted for things, how these things have come about, what the rationale is. I just don't know any other committee.
Well, there will be meetings and these questions can all be asked.
Right, but I'm
Will
just
be.
saying, this is a big, this is a big finished package that they handed over. It's not like a few ideas and a few proposals. It's 300 pages of changes.
Mhm.
And Woodstock has prided itself in the last 50 years from not making major changes like every place else has. I drive through town, it looks exactly the same as when I was a little girl. And this is a major change that will change this town forever. I mean, it can't even accommodate the traffic we have as it is. Imagine tripling the density.
I mean, the only people I see this benefiting are the store owners. And even that, it probably won't be just be incremental. But I don't see it working in any way. I don't see how it can. So, all right. Well, I'll draft up something tomorrow with concerns without even going into great detail. Just
Yeah.
I'll get something to them by tomorrow.
And would you, copy the town board as well? Because, they want everything to be funneled through them, but I think our remarks should go to the town board, maybe even the planning board, but I don't.
I don't want to CC 400 people, but I could send it to the clerk, make it available to maybe the board members.
Yeah, the town board would be good. I just don't.
I agree.
Because they're saying you send it to us and then we'll decipher it and we'll feed it back to the, no.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should be able to talk to the town board directly.
It's
Right.
like
Well,
they're censoring what goes to the town board.
well, they won't be able to do that very well. So, I've been through a few of these rodeos and
Yes, you have.
it'll be interesting when it hits the public,
Oh, boy.
we haven't had a good public row in a while, so.
I'm sure we're going to have
Woodstock
two
needs one every-
sides, the
Woodstock needs one every once in a-
Airbnbs.
Yeah, Woodstock needs one every once in a while. So.
Oh,
it's good-
boy.
It's good for the town. So strap in.
You better muzzle me.
No, when you're at those public meetings, do what you like. Have at them. Get your yayas out.
No, I don't think so. I've retired my Norma Ray hat.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So without any further ado, I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting and thank Michelle once again.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Everybody's hungry.
Oh, I ate before meeting, sorry.
All good.
Bye.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
We have to recess the meeting?
I just did.
Oh, we don't.
Yep, Jude seconded it.
Without,
okay.
yeah, I said without objection.
Did,
No objection.
do we know what our next meeting is going to be, in person or Zoom, or we don't know?
I'm actually going to a open meeting seminar next week, so I'll let everybody know.
Okay. And Jude, we'll go out there next week to Clockman Lane,
Sounds good.
to the Ehrlichman's house.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Okay,
Good
bye-bye.
night, everyone.
Night.